Can a leopard change its spots? What if the issue isn't men failing to change? What if it's the world failing to believe they can?
When you're driving down the road and it's been one of those days and the guy cuts you off and you're like, fucking idiot. Is that who you are? Are you the aggressive guy? Or did you just have a moment?
No one was born bad. So something must have happened in their life somewhere, whether their dad was, whether their mum was abusive, whether their siblings were abusive, or they've been through something in life, or whether, something's happened outside the home to cause them to be that way.
Every man needs to take responsibility for his actions, for his words. There's no doubt about it. I do not doubt that whatsoever. Men just don't go around beating women. Men just don't go around murdering people. Men just don't go around raping. Men just don't go around stealing. These things where you go, why is this man extremely violent? All these men wanting to change or wanting to show that they've changed. How do they prove it to society?
Do you want to be average? Do you want to be above average? Do you want to stand out? I mean, are you in this game just to have a fight, or are you in this game to become the champion? It's time.
Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Men's Collective podcast, the place where real talk without the BS. The place where four normal, everyday guys get around some very real topics relevant to us men, all with the agenda to challenge us to become better men. So in turn, we can not only serve ourselves better, also our families, our partners, and our communities. We are the Average Joes. Wayne Taylor is the name. I'm joined once again by three legendary men and also good mates of myself, Mikey, Jamie, and Craig. Welcome, fellas.
How we doing, lads?
Morning.
Doing well?
Oh, g'day.
G'day, yeah. No one actually knows what time we record, so we can say good morning, good afternoon, and no we can throw them actually. God, it's 1 a.m.
Yeah.
But,
I reckon they look at our eyes and go, it must be out of hours.
Yeah.
everyone zooms in on the YouTube ones and goes, yeah, this is the early morning one.
Yeah.
Sees that we're drinking coffee, not whiskey. Oh, yeah, it's a morning.
Yeah.
Well, your
Are
case.
we? Who knows?
When Lindy was here. Look, guys, today I want to dive deep into a topic that I'm sure is absolutely going to be an absolute ripper. Before we do, I want to thank our sponsors and partners that help us stay here and get this message out there. So a huge thanks to One Life Property Group for supporting the movement and particularly the podcast. You guys are absolute legends. Also, a quick reminder, it makes a huge difference to us here when you leave us 5-star reviews. So if today's episode hits home for you, please do that very thing. It helps us way more than you know. Today's topic: can a leopard change its spots? They say a leopard can't change its spots. It's one of those phrases that people love to throw around when they, have given up on someone, and in particularly men. It sounds wise, it sounds final, and even absolute. And when it's said about men, let's be honest, it hits a little different. The world watches men closely, waiting for the stumble, waiting for the outburst, the failure, the flaw, and the moment it happens, the label gets slapped on him like it's a prison sentence. People say, well, that's just who he is, and men don't change, and once a cheat, always a cheat, and once angry, always dangerous, and once broken, always broken. Today I want to unpack it. A leopard's spots don't disappear. That's true. We all know that. But it doesn't mean a leopard can't change its path. It doesn't mean it can't sharpen its senses, learn from its pain. It doesn't mean it can't alter its behavior or even become something more powerful because of its past. A man might carry mistakes, regrets, addictions, bad decisions, but those aren't life sentences. They're marks, they're scars, they're just like a leopard's spots. They're visible, yeah, but they're not defining. What if the issue isn't men failing to change? What if it's the world failing to believe they can? What happens when society convinces a man that he's stuck, that no matter what effort he puts in, he'll always be seen as that guy? He'll never change. Well, that's just him. What happens when a man believes that too? Well, today we're talking about redemption, identity, and the real fight men face. Not just to overcome the past, but to rewrite the story others have already finished for him. So, fellas, let's get into it. As always, I want to start with a yes or no question, and then I'll come back to you for your reasons as to why. Question, obvious one. Can a leopard change its spots? In other words, can a man truly change? Jamie, yes or no?
In most cases, I would say yes.
Craig, can a man really change?
Yeah, definitely. I think there can be. There's got to be catalysts behind that, and there's got to be need and want. But it's men can change for sure. Yeah.
Mikey, I know we had a bit of a
Yeah,
small
look-
discussion before we started.
Mate, I was really I wasn't sure on this one. I was 50-50, but after that intro, mate, from the wise old owl you are,
You like that one?
good. It was good. No, I think we can.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I think men can change. Okay, well, now we'll go to why. Jamie, why do you think men can change?
Well, I think it comes down to it depends on what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's coming down to the nurture or nature type of thing. So sometimes it's our environment that causes us to become someone. And I think that if that environment is heavily the thing that's pushing people into that process, then yes, they can change because, you know, we can deal with the past, we can overcome our challenges, we can make mistakes and move on from that. You know what I mean? But I also think that there are just people that are fucked, you know? And then, you know, that's more of a nature sort of side of things. And then it is a smart idea to keep away from those types of people. You know, there is bad people out there, there is evil people out there. And I don't, you know, when you go to court or like a murder case or something along those lines, one of the biggest things is whether they planned it and the reason behind it and whether they got enjoyment out of it and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Not I did it because it was this or that. And you know, murder is a bad thing, everyone. I'm not saying, not sticking up for anything like that, but I think it depends on what it is and what are the circumstances that made that person become who they were at that particular time in their life.
So just on that, you believe that those people can change though?
Yeah, absolutely. So people with tough pasts, people that have made mistakes, people that find themselves in a certain situation. Like you make a decision like left or right sometimes, and some people see that as a good decision. Some people make it in a bad decision. And one of the first things that people talk about when they like go into therapy or they work on themselves and stuff is that people are just doing the best they can with what they have at that particular time. You know, so sometimes just with that better understanding, or sometimes with that more work, or sometimes with a better support group around you, that actually helps you make better decisions, which makes you want to become a better person, which makes you want to
100%
change.
agree. Craig, you said yes as well, buddy. Why do you think men can change?
Oh, I've seen it. I know blokes.
We've
who've
had you on
changed.
before with
that's
your
it.
story.
Yeah, I'm a prime example. But yeah, things happen in life, and I think if you're in the right environment, then you can change. And if you're not around the right people, then I think, and if you're around people doing the same thing, then you're not going to change. So it depends on your environment a lot. I think it depends on your environment how you end up in that situation, and it depends on the environment and the people you're around how you come out of that situation. So you know, I've seen lots of people change, and I've seen lots of people just stay in the same friend group, the same environment they're in, and keep doing the same stuff. So I think it definitely depends on your friend group, your support group, whatever it might be. But yeah, I definitely can change for sure. Yeah.
Mike, you said yes as well, bud. Why?
Well, like I said, I struggled with it because I think we're all born with this clean slate and the capacity for great good and great bad. So I think the person that gets labelled with whatever it is they've done, it can be anything. They've made a heap of decisions and they've been maybe pushed to an extreme. If you do something, is that who you are forever? Can you not rewrite that and go back? We all have that little voice inside that says that's wrong. We don't always listen to it. So yeah, if we're around the right people and we go down that right train of thought over time, it's going to change. I've changed. You've changed. We've all changed around here. I'm a very different person to when I was 20, but at the core, I'm still the same person.
Okay, so that's the avenue you actually want to go down. When you just said that at the core, I'm the same person. Can that core person ever change? Because we've all gone through natural changes, right? I'm 45 years old, and I've had cycles of changes. You know, friendship cycles and belief cycles, and you know, disciplines. Like there's so many things I've changed about my life, but the inner me is what I want to go down. Can the core of a man ever change?
That's where I'll probably say no.
Really?
But I think from that, your inner core is inherently good. Whether you show it or not is a different story. The decision you make at that time, all of the factors in your life that come together at that moment when you make that decision. You know, when you're driving down the road and it's been one of those days and the guy cuts you off and you're like, ah, fucking idiot. Is that who you are? Are you the aggressive guy? Or did you just have a moment of, you didn't think it meant anything?
It's funny you've brought up a scenario like that, right? Because you see things like that and it's like we can live 20, 30, 40 years relatively good people. And then something like that happens and then that slogan of like, oh, you know, true colours finally come out. It's like you can live 30, 40 years doing amazing things. Do one thing where, you know, oh, you shouldn't have reacted that way and all of a sudden it's your true colours. Why isn't the 30, 40 years of being good your true colours and that's just a stuff up?
Yeah.
But
One
instead,
go.
we look at the bad. It's like, and like I said at the intro there, it's we as men, and I'm not saying this my own personal belief. It's the general consensus, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. But for me, it's a general consensus that it's like the world is waiting for us, and they watch, especially men in positions. It's like they watch and they wait for the stuff up, and instead of patting them on the back for the good 30, they go the car rage incident or the you know, he punched this bloke out or punched his missus out. You know, we've had a lot of talk recently about domestic violence, which, you know, I don't think any man can say he agrees with domestic violence. And actually I guess I'll make clear when I say domestic violence, I'm not talking about men being the perpetrators all the time too. I'm talking about violence within the home because there are women out there that also do domestic violence. But it's as if the world waits for that one moment and they write off 30 years of good. So what's the core of the man then? Is it the 30 years of him being good and stuffing up once? Or is it really just him withholding back that bad but finally cracking? It's like the world waits for it to be, well, that was truly him all along.
Yep. That's the question, isn't it? Like, you know, a boxer would say he's only as good as his last fight. Are we only as good as our last moments at that time? But it's capacity, right? We've done our topics on potential. It's just another version of that, isn't it? We can always improve. We can always get better. We can always get worse.
I always have hope for people. I just see that you sort of wonder if people act out or if they're doing the wrong thing. I always wonder, okay, where'd that come from? What happened in their life to get them to that point? I don't think no one's was born bad. So something must have happened in their life somewhere, whether their dad was, you know, or whether their mum was abusive, whether their siblings were abusive, or they've been through something in life, or whether, you know, something's happened outside the home to cause them to be that way. I don't think there has to be a point in time where they made a decision or someone made a decision for them that they were going to have a hard time and it's caused some sort of hurt that then now at some point in their life will come out as an outburst. And that outburst can cost them a lot in life, you know. I knew a guy he was a really good kid. He was 18, out with his mate, and they went drinking, picked up a girl. She turned out to be a bit of a loose cannon. And then his mate realised that she was actually one of the local bikies' girlfriends. And they were out at a park with this girl. She flipped out and went to hit one of them with a pole or whatever. And so he reacted and hit her. She fell down and she had a big gaping hole in her head. And then so they're like, what do we do? They're at this junction in their life. They're 18-year-old. What do we do at this point in time? Like, we're dead. They're going to come after us when they realise we took her from the club and now she's injured. So they drove off and left her there.
Wow.
And they got to this T intersection at the end of this dam and realised, what do? We can't, you know, what if she's not dead? She knows who we are. So they made a decision right at that point to turn around and go back. And they threw her into the dam. And so she died.
Wow.
And then so for 2 weeks, they were like stressing out. And his mate went to the police and pretty much told him what happened and then put him in it and said he hit her when the other bloke hit her. And so at that point in their life when they could have just said, okay, this is a bad situation, let's take you back into town and drop you off and, you know, where the consequences have been bashed by, you know, whoever. They made that choice to turn around, go back. And so he did 16 years in jail as an 18-year-old. Absolutely changed his life. But right through his jail, he's a great guy. You know, he's a really nice kid, blonde hair, blue eyes. Jail wasn't easy for him at times, but he was a good guy. He come out of jail 16 years later, started a business and doing well in life, but he was never a bad person. It's just a circumstance, you know.
Okay, that's
That's the point, right?
that's exactly the point I want to go down, right? Because here's this 18-year-old kid. He's made a bad not so much a bad decision. Well, bad decision on following a bad action. A mistake. How do you want to call it, right?
Well, it's a bad thing.
It was a bad thing, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But you've got this 18-year-old kid that goes into jail.
Yeah.
He would have stepped into that prison known as the girl beat or the girl killer.
Yeah,
That's him. That would have been his label.
Yeah.
Lady killer, woman. Like he beat this woman to death, right? So he would have carried that label, well, for a minimum 16 years, because he was in prison for that very reason.
Yeah.
This man comes out, start a business. Society, when they look at a man like that, do they continue to go, oh, lady killer?
Yeah.
Or do they go, oh, good businessman, that guy, good fella, guy helps out his community.
Mm.
So that man right there, labelled a lady killer.
Yeah.
Will society, or can society, or should society accept the fact that that man never changes, or will he always be deep down a lady killer?
Yeah. I think there'll be people in the world who won't ever forgive him for what he did. But until they hear his story and how it unfolded, that's the difference. I think why behind it changes things for people. I think when they hear the story, you know, it was a split second choice, what to do without thought, probably. You know, that's the difference. I think when people hear the backstory, that can change people's perception. But overall, he'll still be labelled. It'll stick with him forever.
Mate, I think you've actually brought up a really good point, right? Is because we got this very topic that we've come to do today. We've got this from an interview that we did with a gentleman a month or so ago, and I know because I've had this chat with you as also, Craig, but I know that you look at the history of men and you look at what men go through, childhood traumas, situations that have happened in their upbringing, abuses, just what they've experienced. But then you see this man do something in their life further on down the track, but you want to go back and you go, well, no wonder. I mean, like, look what's happened to the person. Like, no wonder. Like, or do we say no wonder, or should he still take responsibility? There's a lot about that where I go, every man, and I say this as clear as anything, every man needs to take responsibility for his actions, for his words. There's no doubt about it. I do not doubt that whatsoever. But I also go, I want to look at the history of the boy. I want to know where this began, because these things don't just pop up. Men just don't go around beating women. Men just don't go around murdering people. Men just don't go around raping. Men just don't go around stealing. Or these things where you go, why is this man extremely violent? Why is this man this? But it seems as if society wants nothing to do with his experiences to get there. They just look at the right there and then and they go, no. Like what Mike said, you're as good as your last fight. No, but look what he just did then. That's really who he is. And I think that's the problem. Society doesn't want to look back. And I've said this many, many times before, and I don't like using the phrase mental health, but you look at the problems we have in society and in the systems regarding mental health. Everybody wants to look at the end result, target the end result, and try and fix the end result. No one wants to track back. But you look at the journey of every man. I believe any problem, any situation, any issue, any whatever it is, can be dramatically resolved if we go back and we deal with, you know, what happened back here. But then again, that raises that question. We were talking to, remember we had Lenny here, the artist.
Yep.
And he was talking about that your past means nothing. Your past is your past. Let it go, move on. It means nothing. It's not who you are now. And that even then made me rethink and go, okay, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I get it though. Like, surely men's upbringing play a role in who they are today. And we can't dismiss it.
Well, it does. It's what you've learned. It's, everything about it. Like if you take someone from a different cultural background and they've learnt how to do things a certain way, and we've learnt them differently just from being in a different culture. So it's something that is, you're always going to be different and have that. It is definitely learned. But you can learn new stuff, right?
Absolutely. Well, where do you think trust comes back into a situation, right? Look, you look at a man and a man's history. You take your mate, for example. He's taken a swing, he's connected with this lady and then gone back, thrown a river, dead. And you go, what if he now gets on the dating scene and he's trying to meet, comes out at, so what, he went in at 18, there for 16, so he's come out at what, 32 or 30?
Yeah, 30.
34.
34, I think.
34 years old, comes out. Probably keen to get on the dating scene, make a life of himself, right? Prove that he's not what society's labelled him, right? So he's in the dating scene now. So you can imagine this young woman, 34, 35, met this nice young guy, and you find out that he was a guy that punched or killed and did this to a lady, right? And you think to yourself, it's one thing to go, oh, mate, look, I believe you've changed. I believe you, and I wish you all the best, mate. Well done. But to what point do we go, I now on the receiving end or on the other side of this fence, I'm going to put into action me trusting that you've changed? Because if you're a young woman and you heard that story, would you be comfortable then dating the guy? Like you go, oh, mate, look, I believe you've changed, but hey, I don't think we should date because I just don't know. Because
It's not worth the risk.
No, but it's true, right? Because you do
Well,
hear
you think
stories.
about it, they go, "Oh, he didn't pay for dinner. That's it. I'm not dating that guy." But over here, you've got.
I remember, and look, a lot of these probably should have given a bit of a trigger warning at the start of this one because obviously stories we're going to say. But I remember being in the church leadership and the church ministry for so long. We had a lot of people come in trying to live a life of change and reformation and that kind of thing, right? And you hear testimonies and stories of people, and you go, amazing, and you believe them because you see their life out work and out play, and you go, that person's putting a lot of action behind the statement of him changing, and I can actually see it, right? But I think there is also that level of where trust lies, because we did have people come into our church where the police were involved prior, and they would say to us, hey, listen, we've got a person that wants to start coming to church. He's under full-time watch, so we're going to also be here. Just to let you know a bit of his background, he was XYZ, right? And so when you hear this kind of information and you go, okay, well, as a pastor or as a minister or as a leader, there's a huge responsibility you take on about the care for the people, right? And so when you get someone like that step into your building now, there's always that part where you go, well, mate, I love the fact that you've changed and you've come out and you want to make change. But you wouldn't, I mean, if I said to you, and it's probably going to be a very touchy subject, right? If I said to you there's a guy who was a pedophile, but mate, that was 20 years ago, the guy's changed now, right? You should see him. Yeah, awesome, mate, fantastic. And you should see how he lives now. He's married, really, really good guy, fantastic. And he's actually put his hand up if you ever need babysitting done. You'd go, yeah, no, I'm good, mate. You would, though, wouldn't? Like,
Mate, so, okay, I found out about this topic last night. Right, give you a bit of a background, guys. as to how
2
this
weeks
works.
ago that we missed.
I didn't read that email, but yeah. So I found out last night, and I'm pondering this, and that was the only unforgivable that I could come up with was hurting a kid. That was the only one. I'm like, could a guy change? Like, it would. I've got 3 daughters. If someone hurt one of my daughters, I couldn't forgive them. When they're adults, if someone, growing up, we're somewhat self-governing, right? As men, we go, no, if you hit a woman, no. We don't, initially we don't go, oh, well, why? We go, no, that's wrong. What are you doing? And you stop it. You may sit down afterwards and, what was the situation? But it wasn't right. But you go, well, maybe there's other factors at play. If it's a kid, there's nothing a kid could have done to deserve getting fiddled. Nothing. There's no which way you could spin it to go, well, that was okay. That's probably the only thing I would say. I don't think there's any coming back from that, man.
For the guy, you mean?
For the guy.
Yeah, right.
For the guy, like there's a certain line you cross where I think that's just too far, where I don't know if you, I don't like saying it, but I don't know if you deserve to be allowed to be trusted again. I think that's just something where you go, no, that's just a step too far. Like you can change, but there is no way in hell I will ever, if I have the opportunity, I would not let you go in that situation where you could test whether you've actually changed.
Yeah, it's interesting because even in jail, like in bike clubs or whatever, there's a level of things that you can do and you're fine. You can murder someone, you can bash someone, doesn't matter. You can steal, whatever. But if you bash a woman or touch a kid, then you're in protection and you're not to be ever trusted again.
Yep.
You should get bashed at every opportunity, and you should get hot water thrown on you. You should be tortured. Doesn't matter. You can't do anything to come back from that. There's like a level of things that guys, in a criminal code go, nah, that's not. You can't come back from that.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It's a strange level of, but I know that in the Christian faith, I had this conversation in the men's Bible study, and all these guys had all committed crimes, and they're all like, God gives you forgiveness. I said, well, what about like pedophiles or women, guys that bash women? They're all like, no, God shouldn't forgive them. I was like, oh, man. So you want the forgiveness, but like they've committed something that, maybe from their childhood has caused this. And I said they need help. They obviously need some help in life. They need some sort of, whether it's psychological help or whatever it is, but they need help. But they can't have forgiveness. They're like, no, never.
Well,
they should go to hell. So.
And
Well,
I think forgiveness is maybe not the answer. It's like you go, should you be trusted in that situation again? In the same way, an alcoholic would go, look, I'm just going to try and avoid the situation of being around alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to the pub with the boys.
Yeah.
If it's still something there. I think the risk, the cost, if that wasn't 100% right in that situation, is just too far to come back from. Like if you're saying that, this guy's a liar or a cheat, and you trust him again, the worst thing he's going to do is cheat again. If this guy is, if he's going to hit a woman, as an example, the worst thing he's going to do is hit a woman again. And which is bad, which is why you go, should you trust him again?
But that's the thing that came up when you said it. You said, anyone touches my daughters. Do you know what I mean? So if they beat up the daughters, when you're like a man, like a adult beats up your daughters, shouldn't be forgiven, right? But where does that stop from hitting a woman? Because it's your daughters. And there's people out there, like as a father, you go, someone touched my daughter, I will end that guy. And I think so I don't think forgiveness is a thing. I think understanding is. Now the problem is with domestic violence is that sometimes it's a person who cried wolf, where someone smashes a plate, you just caused domestic violence. A man is getting attacked and he holds back the woman, you know what I mean? And he's like, you put your hands on me. That's domestic violence. I'm allowed to hit you. You're not allowed to hit me. No, violence is fucking bad. Like, that's just, do you know what I mean? That's the way it is. And yes, violence occurs sometimes, even with male to male, you know what I mean? But that's what happens on a footy field. The violence occurs, right? But then it's finished afterwards, So in a home setting, or but that's two grown people. But violence in a home setting is just not acceptable. And so I don't think it's the forgiveness part of it. But I think there is also an opportunity for us to understand it and like try to work with that person to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And if people are trying to change, they shouldn't, as you said, be labeled with that thing the whole time, that they are trying to change. And as you said, putting themselves in situations where that's not going to cause that trigger. That's not going to, I think pedophiles should be castrated. I think get rid of the problem, So, but
is that why those two bricks are in the back of your car?
The old clap method.
But I think that, it is such a bad, domestic violence really messes people up. It does. Kids see it. You know what I mean? There's a cycle that goes on there, and it's not okay. Yeah. But I think that it is a cycle a lot of the time where that cycle needs to be broken. And the only way we can break that is by changing people's understanding about what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like my first wife, we used to yell at each other. And it was actually when you get into a relationship where that person isn't yelling at you, your partner's not yelling at you, you know what I mean? They're just expressing their feelings and they're upset. And then they go, okay, I'm going to go cool off, sort of thing. Being in that environment going, that's a normal thing when someone's upset to do, not yell and scream at you. People can change, but as you said, your environment can change, and you need to learn from other people to make those changes as well too.
Yeah. Well, when we're talking about this, we're talking about whether from the outside we're being judged as to whether we can change or not. There's cases out there where guys haven't even done anything wrong and they're being judged, that's the grey area, right? When we sit there and we want to decide whether a man can or can't change, maybe he doesn't need to change because he actually hasn't done anything. Sometimes. Now, and this is both sides of it, right? Like when I was at school, we were in year 10 and we all got pulled into a room, and one of the guys in our class had been accused of raping a girl in our class whilst lesson was on in the toilets. And it was a massive thing. He got suspended. He was now a rapist. 12 months on of this court case and everything, she actually admitted she made it up. And all charges were dropped. Now, this guy's life was ruined. He's still that guy that didn't rape anyone. Where do you... Society has judged him for something he hasn't done. And that's the danger of this self, how we govern ourselves. Because we do it. I sit there and go, oh, guys hit a girl. Fuck him. Step in. Well, maybe you didn't, and vice versa. Maybe she's been accused and the other way. So it's so grey. What do you do? How do you...
Well, going back to what we were just saying, it seems as if we've created, or not created, it seems as if we've come to terms with, if that's even the right phrase, we've basically said there's two things men can't change from, or that we refuse to believe men can change in: violence against women, violence against children. Right? It just seems as if that's what you guys are saying here, right?
Not saying you can't change. I'm saying, is it worth risking it?
Yeah.
Is it worth, if you've got a daughter, so if a guy comes, if Chelsea brings a guy home and his last relationship was he flogged the backside out of her, but he's changed, would you go, okay, darling, I trust your judgment? Or would you go, okay, let's manage this. I'm going to be heavily involved here and I'm going to follow the guy around?
That's a massive question.
Because of the risk, right? The
100%,
level.
yeah.
There's certain things where the worse the issue, the trait or the accusation or whatever it is, the bigger the consequences. And it, like I say, if it's small, if he's a tea leaf, he likes to pinch stuff. You go, worst thing that's going to happen is he might pinch that thing off the sideboard when he comes around for dinner. If he's a kiddie fiddler or, he's into whatever it is.
That's what we're saying. It's like we count the cost of.
Yeah, like
we look at the history.
Forgiveness isn't ours to make, right? If he didn't do it, if you did something to someone else,
yeah,
why do I need to forgive you? Why do you need you don't?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So it's like, what's the big deal? But it's how we then guard that, how we conduct with each other is going to change.
Oh, definitely.
Inherently, if you've done something wrong, you're going to try and make it better.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a little bit guarded, and vice versa. Where it is.
Yeah, it is. It's sad that there is levels, because people do make mistakes, and how do they come forward from that? That's the biggest thing. How should society treat people who have made a mistake but genuinely have changed? Why does society? And it is a tall poppy syndrome. Sometimes you go, well, I don't want that person to do well. They don't deserve it.
Yeah,
it's like a guy on Channel 7 the other day where this guy had killed 3 of his kids and one of the cousins drink driving.
The car accident, yeah.
Yeah, and he went in jail, and like they're actually friends, or he's become a mentor to this guy who killed his kids. And it was just forgiveness has changed his life. I don't think if the dad, and the guy said that if the dad hadn't forgiven me, I wouldn't be the person I am today. His forgiveness has changed my life, and his mentorship, even though he's killed his kids, he's now reached out to him and mentoring him. And he goes, it's changed my life. And it's not just forgiveness, it's actually trust. He goes, he's led him into he said, this guy's part of my family now. And he knows that's changed his trajectory of his life forever now. So, and he goes, should there be consequences? Yes. Like he goes, I shouldn't be let out of jail. I did the wrong thing. There's consequences for my action. I'm going to spend the next, he's doing 15 years. He goes, then I've got the next 10 years left. And he goes, and I shouldn't be let out because I've done the wrong thing. There has to be consequences for my action. But I'm thankful that he's now forgiven me and given me a new start in life. And I was like, wow, it's so powerful.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a testimony to everyone in the jail. He goes, because he's looked upon as the guy who killed all the kids. So he's had a hard time in jail. But it's testimony. He said it's testimony to the other people in the jail because they can see that someone can change. And someone's put their trust in him, not just anyone, but the father of the kids he's killed. And that's actually changed the way that inmates see him. It's actually really powerful. Yeah, it's really cool.
So you think a man like that, let's just take his story, for example. He comes out of jail in 10 more years. What got him in there was the combination of drinking alcohol to the point of it was too much, sitting behind a car, which then caused a car accident and killing people. Do we go, oh, mate, this guy, great guy, a lot of change, comes out of jail, oh, mate, but by the way, you can no longer drink or drive. Like either, look, not talking about the combination, but sorry, mate, you can never have another beer and you can never get your license again. Is that what we're saying? Or have we taken it out of that category of...
Again, it's what led that guy there is so different, right? He was out. He would have, you guess, you assume he was out drinking, and just moment of weakness. They all decided to get in the car, and something's happened. That's a very different situation to the guy who's gone, I'm going to diddle that kid.
Yeah, but what if? Okay, so we've heard this guy's story, and we've gone too much alcohol, decides to drive, kills a family. What if this is the 57th time this guy's done it, but never hit anybody? It's just that
Well,
now
he
he
did
has.
say that. He goes, yeah, I've driven plenty of times. He goes,
Is that real?
More than I should have. He
Okay,
goes,
well, there you
I
go.
don't drive a number of times, and this one time it happened. Yeah, finally, because it was probably inevitable. But yeah, he knew that was one of the questions, which was a great question. Had you done this previously? He's like, yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so this raises another question, and let's stick with this guy's story for a minute. This guy's now obviously showing signs. Well, he's obviously can't drink because he's in jail, and he can't drive because he's in jail, right? So forced change in action, right? But he's obviously making statements and commitments to, one, this has changed me, and then in 10 years' time, we're going to see it because he's going to step out and he's going to go, how does he live his life, right? But when you look at a story like that, does it need, for a man to then truly change, does it need a massive, impactful scenario or situation to go, oh, okay, I finally killed some people, now I'm going to change?
It needs a crossroads, a junction. I don't think it needs to be that extreme. But
So we're living in a society now full of men living extremes, waiting for the, whoa, okay, it's gone too far now, I'll stop. Is that do we walk past these men every day?
we'd have to walk past men like that every day. But again, I think in all of our lives, there would be something where we go nowhere near as extreme as what we're talking about here, but there would be stuff where we go, I'm at a junction, I could maybe change that. Whether it's your diet, whether it's your friend group, whether it's the language you choose to use, the way you entertain yourself. You could go, hey, do you know what? The stuff I'm watching at night time isn't serving me in my life and my family. I need to change that. That's a crossroads and a junction, and that's a point that's going to improve your life or send you on a different trajectory.
I don't think many people change, like many men will change dramatically unless there is something dramatic happen. I think there has to be that moment in time where, my marriage is just falling apart now. I need to change because I'm looking at porn, or I'm, because that's a very unhealthy thing to do, or whether we're having an affair or whatever it might be, until you have that crossroads where I've just been caught, or, something's gone wrong, or I've had an accident, I've hit a car or whatever it might be. I think, speaking to many, many men about, their faith, they're really, until they hit rock bottom or something happens in their life, they don't see a need for change because their friend group's the same. They're all doing the same things, or they're justified in some way. But when they have that impact thing in their life, then they actually have they make a choice. And some people don't. They go, no, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But there is a point in time where they start asking questions, and that's when, a podcast can change their life because they think, oh, I can change. There is hope. If people just keep saying, oh, you can't change your spots, then why change? I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Silly question. The people that say you can't change, though, a lot of these people are also the ones that believe there's 92 genders and a man can be a dog or a cat, or
mentally ill.
Yeah,
Mm.
but that
Yeah.
if you know if that change is possible, if you can change reality, why can't you change?
Yeah, but we've just said 5 minutes ago that we believe
I know.
pedophiles and domestic violence guys can't change.
Well, it's not that they can't change; it's that how you would treat them is different. So
The trust level.
it's
Yeah.
the trust
Oh,
level. It's different, right? Like if someone diddles a kid, is it for me to forgive them, or is it for the parents and the kid to decide whether they're going to forgive them? It's not my choice to forgive them or not. I have no. I'm not involved in that situation, that transaction. So for me, all I can decide is how I'm going to gauge my dealings with that person. That's going to change no matter what, whether it was 20 years ago, 50 years ago. Like you say, there's consequences for your action.
I think
So it's not for forgiveness, is it?
I think one of the biggest things though is this is the reason why men becoming better and holding each other accountable is so important. And men in the home and family units together and having healthy relationships is so important. You know, there's a video going around the internet now where they talk about a child predator and they said, what is the number one factor on who they chose? And they said, did he have a strong male role model around there? You know, or was that an easy target type thing? Do you know what I mean? So I think that, you know, a guy who causes domestic violence, you know, along the line, they've actually made, and you said it before, a decision that this is something that's acceptable, you know, where if you have a strong group of men around you who go, don't do that, you know what I mean? Like the old Italian family where they go, you touch my sister, you know what I mean? And they'll come around and sort the bloke out, you know? So, and it doesn't mean but those cycles have to stop and actually going, what is okay and what is not okay. We need to hold each other accountable for that. And we need to create better men and create better families and create, you know, and help those kids actually become better. Like this is what it's all about. This is the whole reason why we're doing this is because, you know, mental health is such a massive problem, but a prevention is always better than a cure.
Discover multi-award winning real estate with podcast sponsor One Life Property Group, based on the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, specialising in everything from high-end duplexes to multi-residential developments, ensuring the highest quality workmanship. Visit onelifepropertygroup.com.au today to achieve excellence in your next property development.
We have to hold each other accountable. We need to actually support healthy men in families and supporting them to become better and actually, you know what, actually appreciating the hard work and effort that they're putting in to keep their families together and be better rather than telling them how shit they are for the one thing that they're doing wrong.
Well, I think we're called, like men, like old school values are meant, we're meant to be, we're brought into this world to protect, you know, we protect women, protect children. So I think that's where that trust level of those type of predators comes from. You know, our job is to protect our family. It's not, you know, I think that's weakening over time as you look at the men that are coming through now and the softness that they are, and the women wanting to be soft, and you know, there's no hardness amongst them. But there has to be at some point some sort of fight where they go, I'm going to fight for my family. I'm going to fight for my wife, my kids to be protected. I mean, you look at some of the guys now; they couldn't protect themselves, and you know, it's just, you know, it's sad to see the way guys are getting brought up. Because all they hear about is we can't be violent, we can't have any kind of, you know, aggression in ourselves. But I think there has to be some of that point when someone gets hurt in your family, it has to be a point where you stand up and say, mate, that's not happening. You know, will the young fellas do that these days? I don't think so. You know, 80% of guys these days are soft and they're not willing to stand up. You know, there's a fight in the street, no one's going to go and help out. There's a guy got bashed the other day in Shelley Beach, and there was no guys running in to help. You know, you see a guy pull the door across, and I don't know what the circumstance was, but you know, lock the door, or there's no one really running in. I saw a few women come in, and which is great. I don't know who was there, but you don't see enough of men standing up and going, "That's going to stop." There's kids, you know, running rampant at the moment. These young teenagers, but they're scared because they're all carrying knives. But how did it get to that point where did men not stand up enough, you know, over the past 10 years, 20 years to go, we're not going to put up with this. You know, we're not going to put up with the violence against our women. We're not going to put up with violence against our kids. I just think there's a point where there is a time for that, for men to stand up, and I think that's been weakened. And I think part of that is, yes, we'll forgive them for what they've done wrong, but the trust level shouldn't be there because that's our job to protect our family. So I think that's maybe where the trust and those levels of like, I'm not going to put up with that, I'm not going to forgive that, whatever it might be. Some people's stance on that, but it's because deep down we're supposed to protect women and children. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Well, you take a bloke that's been a bit of a shit bloke, right? And he's come out with a statement that he's changed. What does proof look like from a societal point of view then? For a guy that come out and has done lots of things, now comes out and makes a statement that he's changed, what does proof look like? Do we give it let's create a similar scenario and see how you reacted, different to last time? Do we give it like, oh, well, yeah, you say it, but it's only been 5 years, let's give it 20 and then we'll believe you? What does a societal expectation, or what is the, I say this word all the time, what's the measuring stick that society puts forward to a man claiming he's changed that we judge him by? Like, how does a man reform himself? Like, really redeem himself?
I think if they have changed, good for them. And I'm going to support your change.
Yeah, but how do we, what's our judgment?
And that's great. But I'm going to be more guarded about that. So it doesn't mean that I'm going to treat you like an arsehole, and I'm not going to but when people drink drive, right? One of the punishments is that they have to put on one of those breathalyzer things before they can drive again, right? So yeah, they might have changed, but there's still measures that you put in place to protect society, protect your family, protect that sort of thing.
I thought that was wind power.
That's
It's Tesla's new little model. Instead of the battery, you blow.
that's kind of the thing of it. You know what I mean? Like, if you had a daughter and you knew that her partner was yelling at her, you know what I mean? Well, then that's going to be going in my head going, okay, I'm going to have a word to him. And I'm going to say, you ever put your hands on my daughter, you're in trouble. Yep. And I'm going to have also a word to my daughter going, okay, what's the circumstances here? That's not acceptable yelling in the home. Yeah. But then I'm also going to be looking out and going, okay, do I see any bruises? Do I see any, do I see her personality start to diminish? Do I see, so it's going to be like my senses are up sort of thing. So it's not, as I said, it's not a forgiveness thing. It's a like, good for you. I support your change 100%, absolutely. But trust is something that's built over time. And if there's something that's not going the right way, I'm going to put extra, I guess, resources in to make sure that I protect the things that I love.
Okay, so you just said a key point, what I was trying to get to. You just said trust is built over time. So you're saying the measuring stick is a time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, no?
Trust is built over time and easy to lose. You could create 10 years of trust and then one action.
Or can you? This is my point. If you do that one action though,
yeah,
are you now the guy that always was? Or are you a guy that did change but's made stuff up?
No, it's not always was. It means though now I need to start, and now that trust needs to be rebuilt over time. Again, yeah, you made a mistake, but I'm not going to, you don't forgive and forget. You forgive and you learn.
Yep.
From them, and I've always seen life as a filter, and then eventually, and good people will come through and people make mistakes and get stuck for a period of time. But over time, if you're doing the right thing and you attract the right people around you and you keep working with it, eventually you're going to get great people around you. And we mentioned it right at the start, it's your environment that can create that life around you. So if you genuinely wanted to be better, you're going to keep pushing towards that.
Okay, so let's just do a role play, right? Let's just say I'm a perpetrator of some sort, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it.
Hitting me way.
You're an idiot. Sorry. Actually, well, let's not even use the word perpetrator. Let's just say I'm a recovering alcoholic. Okay, and I've met you guys and I've shared with you that story. Yeah, guys, I'm recovering alcoholic. Oh, when did you stop? Yeah, last week. You'd go, mate, you just haven't had a drink for a week. That's all it is. But then my response to you then, okay, well then I believe there's been change in me. What do I need to do to prove to you to get you to believe me? You'd be going, well, what would you say? Give it 10 years? Would you say sit in front of a beer and not touch it? Like what's
Well,
for all these men wanting to change or wanting to show that they've changed? How do they prove it to society?
my question to you would be, if you've not had a drink for a week and you firmly believe, hey, I'm off, what does it matter what I think?
No, but it does, because this is how society is treating men. Men come out of prisons.
Yeah.
I've reformed. What does it matter what I think, mate? Sorry. It matters what we think. We give jobs to men that have had history. These men step into relationships. We give opportunities to men that have a past.
Well, okay, so last night at the barbecue, we had I pulled the trailer up and I had a lady come up to me and she looked familiar. And we all meet a lot of people every day. Like with my work, I meet 20 new people every day, plus what we do with the barbecue and everything else that we're going. And she looked vaguely familiar, but we started having a conversation and it clicked. Now, 6 months ago, she rocked up to the barbecue, whacked out of her nut on drugs, and absolutely broken, like was, shaking and crying and I want to change. And we had a long conversation about, look, let's get into rehab. Let's do this. I have no control over this, but please come back and see me when you've gotten off. So I just said to her, look, I would love if you gave me the opportunity to see you fixed, see you going on a better path, just to encourage me on what we're doing. And last night she rocked up and she actually on her phone had an app that was, I'm 5 months, 22 days, 6 hours and 27 minutes sober. But I could see in her that she was different. Like she looked healthier, the way she conducted herself. It was obvious. So if you've genuinely changed, there's going to be an outward, people are going to see you carry yourself different, right? So yeah, even the interview we did with Shane, the guy didn't carry himself like he was someone who had done what he's been accused of and has done, whatever that story is. He didn't carry himself like that's who he was now. So there's something different there. So, it's whether we choose to see those signs and accept them as a step forward. It's, I don't think it's, in this girl's case, she has genuine now at a heartbeat. She has gone to a point in her life where she could easily go back there, as could anyone who does everything. Whatever you've done, if you've pushed yourself to a point, you're capable of that, given the right circumstances. So it's not a far stretch to believe that you could go back there. But as long as you're on the right path, you see it. So I suppose as society, we need to be more open to actually look at someone and go, I can see some of that change in you. And it's old school. You talk about old school values as well. It's also, we were also quite diplomatic back in the old school days as well. We wouldn't just, back in the days where there was a men's bar for them to go and swear and carry on, and they wouldn't swear in front of a woman. That's just another version of it, right? We wouldn't walk up to someone in the street and go, you haven't changed. You're a woman, but you've done this, you've done that. You wouldn't do it. You would just hold your opinions to yourself and carry yourself to a conduct where they wouldn't know what you think. You would treat everyone to a certain level of decency, regardless.
Well, that raises another question, right? Let's just say, let's use me for example again. We've known each other for 5, 6 years. Is that the same? Now,
It's been 12 years.
What's that when you introduce yourself as No, I remember doing this years ago. I did a wedding speech, and I'd been married for about 15 years at the time. And I got up and I was giving a speech. I said, mate, congratulations. Great seeing the bride and groom. Marriage is a phenomenal thing. I myself have been happily married for 2 years, married for 15, but 2 are happy. That's it. So I've known you for 6. I've known you for 12, but 6 I remember. 6 are worth remembering. No, but you've known me for 6 years, right? You've made a fair judgment on the type of person I am. My character, my beliefs, my work ethic. There's so many things about me that you've made a judgment and gone, why is this? To the point where if someone even came and said something about me different, you'd go, I actually don't know because my experience has been this with Wayne, right? But then if I confess something to you and said, hey, I'm actually a recovering alco or something else. I'm a recovering, well, wouldn't use a recovering, I'm an ex-pedo or I'm an ex-something. You'd go, ooh, yeah, right, okay, kind of wish I might have known that earlier. But the lifestyle I've lived with you for the last 6 or 12 years, whatever it is, but the lifestyle I've lived with you for this last 6 years wouldn't give anything remotely give that away.
Yep.
Because I've lived a certain lifestyle.
And disclaimer, he's not.
Disclaimer. I'm none of those things.
Anyone wants to snip that?
Yeah. All the feminist movements out there won't name who you are.
Yeah, this could be a rough month coming up, right?
Yeah.
God, imagine if they pulled apart this episode. You can put so many things together.
Oh, mate.
Go for your life. You pulled everything else apart and added what you wanted.
Where would you go with that? Right?
But this is my point, right? So if I'm meeting somebody as men, we all have a history. I mean, like if you haven't heard Craig's podcast, you wouldn't know the man you're sitting across from today. And if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, you haven't heard the one we've had with Craig. It's chalk and cheese of the type of guy. But when you share your story, you go, "Oh, geez, I didn't realize I was sitting next to whatever."
Yeah.
So.
That's why I haven't made eye contact.
But this is the thing there. So we all have a past and a history of some degree. It seems as if society have this expectation that we need to introduce ourselves with some kind of card or whatever. I'm like, oh, this is who I was. These are the things I've done. Just so you're aware now that if you want to be my friend or trust me from here on in. But we don't. We take people, we meet them, and that's a really nice bloke. Like I said, you've known me for 6 years. Oh, Wayne's this, Wayne's that. And then I'd drop a bombshell and go, actually, mate, just to let you know, I was also this. Your whole perspective of me would change.
Yep.
But I've not proved that the last 6 years. I've been an entirely changed man. I remember I got a mate of mine who's now a pastor of a church down in Sydney, and was this like huge gang member back in Penrith. And I remember he'd given his whole life to the Lord. Massive life change, huge dramatic changes in his life. And he and I started to do this like a street preaching thing. So we'd start going around the plaza and start going around Penrith and start talking to people about God, right? Now, this changed for him. And this is now going back. See, we were 17. So this is nearly 30 years ago. This is 28 years ago, right? And now he's a pastor to this great family. And you hear of his history, you'd go, different guy. Dramatic changes, right? He was about 2 years into this so-called change, and he and I were walking the streets of Penrith. And we bump into this guy, I don't know his name, but a guy that recognised my mate. He's like, yeah, man. He goes, my whole life's changed now. I go to church and I give my life to God and I'm doing all this kind of stuff. And his mate's looking at him going, yeah, good one, man. Like, because they doubted it that much because of the lifestyle this guy had lived. And he's like, nah, man, no, this is really who I am now and I'm doing this. And he's like waiting for him to go, nah, I'm just joking, man. That's not really me. But this guy was legitimately waiting for that response because he's going, nah, that's not you. That's not you. I know you, man. I know you. He's like, no, this is really me now. Like, nah, no, I know you. I know you. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that for us as men, society, it seems as if, I'm not making the call, but it seems as if society won't accept the fact that we truly have changed, even if they came up with the rule book on what it looks like to change. It seems as if they don't accept it. So this raises a whole new question, right? If you've got a guy out there who's made a mistake, let's just stick with the drink driving car guy, for example, right? He's come out and gone, oh, look, you know what? I'm no longer going to drink. I'm no longer going to drive. I'm not going to do any more of those things, right? For a guy like that to come out and we go, mate, fantastic, like great claims, but until you do these certain criteria, we won't believe you. If we start labeling him that and go, mate, great confession, but until you, great confession, surely a guy like that gets to the point and goes, you know what? If they're never going to believe me, stuff it. I'm just going to go back and drink again. because I know I've made these changes. The world has continually thrown it back in my face and gone, no, mate, no, we don't believe you. Surely that wears away at a man and makes him go, oh, bugger it. Look, if no one's going to believe me, stuff is. What's the point of me trying to become better?
I think it goes back to what you're saying about the alcoholic who's been off the booze for a week. Like, you've got to actually support that. And what should be done is, why did you make that choice? How much better has your life become because of that? Do you know what I mean? Well done. Like, a week is a good thing. You can do 1 week, you can do 2 weeks. If you can do 2 weeks, you can do 50 weeks. You can do 50 weeks. You know, actually support them on the journey of change.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's so. Whether it's one day, you know what I mean? Like, you got to do the small achievements over a period of time. Like, that is how people change their life, isn't it? You know, like, you don't go to the gym in one day and your whole body changes. It's the consistency of doing it in and out. Do you miss those? Yes. You know, drinking would be the same thing. You get 1 week sober, you're stuffed up again. You know what I mean? Like, a year sober, you're stuffed up again. And those stuff ups are normally emotional, external issues that have taken you off the path. Yeah. And that's the same as when a lot of the time when men make a bad decision, it's normally an external thing behind the scenes that are pushing them to do it. Now, yes, it can be the past, or yes, it might actually be that one relationship that is just absolutely toxic. Yeah. Or yes, it might be that they got so much pressure to make money that they're prepared to do something that's not right to get it. They've tried to take a shortcut because life has been so hard for them, and they just like, I need one break. You know, so I think with those types of things, we need to support those people and help them in the time when it is really, really tough. And that's why, you know, if your mate is in a toxic relationship, you've got to be able to say, hey, that's not good. That's not good what's happening right there.
I think that's a really good point about the support. I think, you know, do men feel they have an open book with people to say, look, I hit my wife last night. You know, I need to talk to someone, because what society looks so bad upon it. They don't want to tell anyone because they're going to hide it. And so there's actually no network that they can talk to, because men just go, you know, I'm going to flog you. You know, why would you do that? Where I had a mate, very, very good mate at church. He was struggling with porn. He put an app on his phone that would tell me if he looked up porn in some way. So he was stepped out of his comfort zone and did probably opposite what most guys would do and say, hey, man, I'm struggling with porn. I need someone to be accountable. So will you be my accountability partner? Yeah. So if he looked at porn on his phone, it would send a message to my phone, and I'd sort of give him a call and say, mate, you doing all right? You're struggling, you know. But it was just having that there, put a safeguard in place so he wouldn't do it, because he goes, man, you know, old mate's going to know I've looked at porn. But it's those things where, how do we as men support guys who are going through stuff and making bad choices? How do we be more supportive versus being more judgmental in that circumstance, you know? And be the guy who goes, man, you've done well. That's a week sober. That's fantastic. Rather than go, sure, just come back to me in a year and see how you're doing, you know?
No, I feel like I've just taken a false accolade there.
No, it's whiskey in there, isn't it? But I think, how can we be more supportive as men, you know? I think that's the thing, you hit that there, I think, saying that. I think it's we as men need to be more supportive, so men feel they can talk to us about what they're doing in life, and what's, you know, whether it's, you know, I looked at child pornography, whatever it might be. I know guys get caught out looking at stuff online, and they had that come up on my screen or whatever, and next thing you know, it's pinged to police. Who knows? You know, it's like it's one of those things that you know, we need to be open with each other more.
Yeah,
yeah.
We like, before talking about how we would all there's the hierarchy. We all kind of self-govern to an extent.
Yeah.
How did we end up in a spot where a guy's even got the opportunity to watch child porn? Like, what the?
Yeah, it's
where does that even come from? Like, we've let the reins go that much.
Yeah.
That's where the world's at. Where a guy would even have the opportunity to look at that. Like,
why doesn't the internet?
No wonder the world is the way it is. Like, you talk about the guy looking at porn. Well, these days you'd open Facebook and it's there, right? Like it's not
yeah.
even you don't even have to go to a porn site to see it. It's
Yeah.
on Facebook, it's on TV, it's everywhere.
I was talking to a mate probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and same thing, battling with porn. Doesn't want to watch it, but finds himself just always just watching it like crazy, right? And I'm going, so what are the sites? Like, can't you just put like a thing on the sites? He's like, oh, no, it's mainly just through Twitter, like X, what they call it now. It's mainly just through Twitter. And I went, what do you mean through Twitter? He's like, mate, Twitter's like a porn site. I said, what do you mean it's like a porn? Because I've got Twitter, but I'm never on it. I've got the app on my phone, but I'd need to even re-download them. That's how little I'm on it, right? I said, wait a second.
Yes.
I think it depends on who you're following.
No, but that's, well, I don't, this is how much.
Instagram's like that too.
Yeah.
Well, I know Instagram show a lot of bikini-clad women and all that kind of stuff. I know that. But apparently with Twitter, he's like, no, man. He goes, if you go to people's profiles and they have like OnlyFans links or whatever links, he said their Twitter like shows the whole lot. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute. This is a married man that has access to sex, right? And's battling with this. And it's an app that children can get. So it's one thing for men to look at stuff as men looking down the line to kids, but these kids have access to adult stuff just from an app. And you go, anyway, we're getting off topic. I do have a good topic coming up about this, actually. I'll share with you guys in a minute. But
I know. Where do we take it from here?
Like, what's the conclusion? I think men can change it. It's got to be. They've got to have that's. I think the support network is what we're talking about. So,
I think the question would be is that do you think that you've changed? And what would be the biggest things in your life that have made you change?
I guess that comes down to then it's more of an identity thing, isn't it? You as the man finding your own identity. Because if you know within you that you've changed, doesn't matter. Because I guess that was what you were saying before about the whole doesn't matter what people think kind of scenario. I think for a man, I think it's an identity thing first and foremost. Because people aren't going to believe you. People don't believe you. Like going back to the interview we had with Shane, people don't believe the change. So I think it's an identity thing within a man first to know that he has. Because no one knows more than you know.
Well, mate, the world is so hurt that even just doing that interview and not even releasing it, you got labelled with all these things that you've never done. You're not that person. You were labelled with all this, and we spoke over that weekend that it all went down, and it shook you, right? It didn't feel nice. You're like, I can't believe people would accuse me of this. What do I say to you? Fuck it, man. Who cares? Like it's not you. You know it's not. You've got guys around you that do support you and do know who you are, and who cares about them? Like the world is that broken that there's people that don't even know you, don't know your story, don't even know the story. We had people commenting on what the topic we'd done, that they were commenting on someone else's comments. Like they were making videos based on someone else's videos. They hadn't even seen us. And you go, like, that's where the world's at, where you go, when you look at it like that and you go, why should I care what they think when they're showing themselves to be so far detached from the truth or wanting to know the truth or reality? What does it matter? Like we're pack animals. We get together, we'll talk, and we'll know where we're at, and we'll be open and vulnerable, and we'll keep ourselves accountable. As long as we're doing that within us, what does it matter what so and so down the street thinks?
We say it doesn't matter. Do we think it doesn't?
It does. It does get you.
Yeah, it does.
But then at what point do you go, fuck them?
Craig, did we tell you? Oh, go.
I think though that is part of why identity is so important, because it is who you believe you are. So you've got that strong sense to be able to come back to. So therefore, it might hurt, but it doesn't influence you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not going to change who you are, because you actually know that that's not you. Like what they're saying is you're not going to go do that because of that. And I think that a lot of problems start because the guy isn't proud of his own identity. He's not proud of himself as the man that he is today. And I think the more, because like you think about relationships all the time, you go, if he was proud of the man he is and knew his worth and knew his value, then before it got to the stage where the arguments were getting that bad, before it got to the stage where, you know, boundaries were getting crossed and all the rest of it, he would be like, I'm out of here because this is not the life I want to live. So, but it's also the same for women too. It's like, so your self-worth, how you see yourself and who you truly believe that you are is such a massive factor on these things. Now, can you change your identity? Absolutely. Like, I'm living proof of it. Like, I am so much of a better person now than what I was when I was 18, 19. Do you know what I mean? 100%. So a leopard can change their spots, but working on that person, on who you actually want to be. And all it does is just go back to the, you know, who, what, how, when am I going to start becoming that person? You know, you just have a look at who you want to be. Not where you're at right now, but who do you want to be? Yeah. What is it, the things that you want in your life? Yeah. And when am I going to start acting like that person and becoming that person? And actually having that pride in yourself, because as you start to improve, you can start to feel better about yourself. So, you know, it's your friendship group. It's people who care about you that can influence you. Yet other people can hurt you. So, and it's our choice on who we let influence us.
Yep.
I read a book called Finishing Strong. So a chaplain gave it to me. You know, so it just talks about owning what you did, never be ashamed of what you did in the sense of like, okay, that was my story. That's just who I was. You know, but from that point, when you made that decision to change, I'm a new person from that point on, and how I'm going to finish strong. So a man's called to finish strong. So it doesn't matter what you've done. Put that aside and go, I'm just going to finish strong. I'm going to be purposeful in my future. I'm going to leave a legacy. I'm going to do things better. But it's just that's how you'll be remembered, is how you're finishing, not how you started. So that was really important for me. It was, you know, it's such a great book. It was fantastic. So, you know, I think that's, and the same as like an alcoholic, and someone who goes to AA, they will always say I'm an alcoholic. It's part of their journey. I'm not ashamed of my story. I tell my story all the time, and it's part of therapy because it reminds you where you come from. And I go, man, I've come a long way from that point. You know, I'm finishing strong. I'm not that person anymore. This is who I was. If that helps someone, and they can see, man, if you've come from that, I can come from that. I just think that's important too. Never forget what you've done wrong, but don't dwell on it. Just go, that was my story. This is who I am today. That was, you know, and it encourages other people. So I don't think you can be ashamed of what you've done wrong. You just need to, and it's okay to, if you feel comfortable, encourage other people. This is where I come from, but make sure you finish strong. Don't stay in that. Don't dwell in that.
Yeah, agreed.
I like that.
You think it's harder? I think it's harder for a man to become a new man, or to convince people that he's not the old one.
Convince people. I reckon.
Convince every day. Yeah.
Isn't that just a shit thought when you think about it? It's harder to convince society that we've changed. Well, it's harder to convince society that we're a new man than it is to actually become a new man.
Yeah.
And you look at the challenges that it takes for us to change. Like sometimes it takes prison. Sometimes it takes a beating. Sometimes it takes a loss. Sometimes it takes something huge. There is a battle ahead of men to bring change, and yet it's harder convincing society that we have than it is the journey itself to actually change.
Sometimes the challenge is the reason for change, though, and sometimes that can be, as you said, like there's turning points, and that could be, you know, that is part of a lot of people's sort of like journey to actually go, I'm glad that this actually happened to me, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if that didn't happen to me. Like, it wouldn't have changed my mindset this much. You know, people who just cruise through life their whole life and don't have challenges, you know, they're probably not going to achieve great things, because, you know, you can either be on the Ferris wheel and just everything is given to you and all the rest of it. You wouldn't know how to push yourself. You wouldn't know those those emotions on how to drive and how desperate you are and, you know, all that sort of stuff. From difficult things, great people can be born,
Yep.
you know? So,
Yep. You think for a man that stuffs up that once after all those years of change, do you think he throws it away?
throws what away?
All the years of, like, if you got a guy that's 20 years sober
Mm-hmm.
and then has a drink, is he still the alcoholic, or does it throw away all the good work? Does he need to relabel himself as
No.
the shameful bloke he was? You take a guy that stumbles.
No. Well, if that's the label you're going to take, that's self-fulfilling, right? Like, you are what you say you are in so many ways. Deep down, if you're going to tell yourself that you're a fuck up and an alcoholic or whatever else, then so you are. You got to internally believe that you're changing and do it. So we all slip every day of our lives in different ways. No one's going to get to the end of their race and go, clean run, perfect.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, you know, there's a concept called treat life like a game. So, and the way we learn from games.
Risk, yeah.
I love risk, yes. But like if you take like Super Mario Brothers and all the rest of it, yeah. So level 1 starts off easy, yeah, and you go through these certain challenges, yeah. But eventually you don't know how to do something and Mario dies. Yeah.
Yep.
Does that mean that the game is over forever? Or what do? We reload and we go again. And we try to make, and we work out how to make it past level 1. Yeah. And then we go into level 2. Now we actually enjoy it getting harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. We enjoy working out how to overcome those challenges. Yeah. And a lot of the time we have to start and run all the way through the work we've already done to be able to get to the next level again. Yeah. So really all those things are doing is just solidifying or testing you to make sure that you actually do have that challenge ticked off. So then you can move to the next challenge. You know, I truly believe that, you know, your life is giving you every opportunity to become the best person you can. Yeah. But it has to test you. Because what happens if you go too far without being able to have the identity, without having the skill sets, without having the mindset to be able to handle those things, you know, that's when people can really fall and hurt themselves. So if we just work on that process of slowly becoming better, treat it as a game and look at that journey as an enjoyable sort of side of things, I think that's the way to look at it. So the guy who has a drink, you know what I mean? That's just him having to start that level all over again. You know, the guy who does, you know, the wrong thing and makes that mistake and drinks drives. That's okay. Starting a level again, you know, you have to, and maybe there's other things that we need to put in place so you don't get into that stage again. You don't make that choice again, you know, just like the app on the phone. He wants to become better. So he's looking at a different route or a different way to take on that challenge. So, and we're going to fail. That's what happens.
Actually, I like that analogy you made about the whole video game, Mario, because when you go to next levels, which is what we do in men, when we make changes, we go to new levels, right? But if we stuff up at level 4, we don't go back and reboot the game. We start back at level 4. We just go back to that little part there. So it's like when you stuff up, it doesn't mean you have to restart your whole life again. Just restart where you are, keep moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good analogy, buddy. Really good. Any other thoughts, fellas?
I was just rethinking the whole notion that, well, we've come at this today that with the assumption that society doesn't want to accept that we change. I think the bulk of majority of society does want to believe that we change. I think we listen to the loud few. I think when you get around and you talk about some of the things we have done today, the people around us in our lives would believe that we have potential for better things every day, whether we're winning or not. I think we're choosing to listen to the wrong voices just because they're louder.
That's a good thought, buddy. That's really good thought. Final thoughts, fellas? Anything else?
No, that's it, mate. I think it's getting past those one person that's going to tell you can't do it. You know, it's they are the loudest ones. So my young fella's got a YouTube channel, Gnarly Harley, but he can get like 100 great comments because he's such a great guy and does all these great things for the motorcycle community. But it's that one person who says, "Oh, you're a wanker. This and that. I don't like what you do. You know, you should be riding this, or you should be doing this. You should be talking about this," and having a crack at him. But hit that one comment just gets in the mind, and it makes you rethink everything you're doing and who you are. But it's just it's funny how as men we just take on. You just want everyone to kind of like you, I suppose, in some ways. But that one comment can kill the other 100. You go, "Oh, don't worry. I'm just you messed up for days."
Yeah.
You know, it's such a hard thing not to listen to those few and go, "No, I can do better. I'm on the right path. I'm doing well." And it's having those men around you going, "Mate, you're doing better than you think you are. Finish strong. You know, don't doubt the path you're on." It's hard to really push past those few. So,
Yep.
yeah, and the world is full of them.
Yeah. Well, and look, when you if you were to really stop and like your son, if he was to go and search that one guy, and if you were to unpack his life, you go, "Oh yeah, mate, okay, no worries." Like we've done it, right? With some of the comments of the last month, you stop and you look and you go. Initial thought is, "Oh shit, these people don't like you." You look at it, and you go, "Oh mate, yeah, okay, no worries, doesn't matter."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true.
Like, I'm glad you disagree with me because I don't want to be like you.
Yeah. Don't like your rainbow hair.
I made a comment about blue hair, and someone made a video about it. That girl, this feminine movement made a whole video about me calling women 400 kilos and blue haired. Go figure. Right?
My favourite flavour.
You type jeans, your loafers, you know.
I think, Craig, to wrap it up, I think your mate's app has given me just an idea on what I believe one of the biggest things for men to prove change, and it's accountability. It's good that technology has things available to not be able to avoid accountability, but I think one of the keys is, I mean, there are so many battles men face, and I think one of the biggest things for all these men out there listening, one of the biggest things you can prove, not only to yourself but to the people around you, is to hold yourself accountable, be accountable, have an accountability group, have people around you that can hold you accountable to decisions you've made. But one of the keys in all that is that you need to remain honest the whole time. If you want to give up drinking, there's no real app that can prove you've given one unless you've got like one of those breathalyzer things. But at the end of the day, whatever it is that you're trying to make change in, I think the biggest key to get the right people around you that you're honest with, that hold you accountable. But it's at the end of the day, they're holding you accountable to your honesty because you've got to be honest with them. It's one of the biggest keys.
Yeah.
But well, guys, look, that wraps up today's deep dive into the question, can a leopard change its spots? Look, we've shared some raw truths. We've challenged some long-held beliefs and hopefully cracked open a new way of seeing what real change looks like for us men. If there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this. Your past doesn't define your future. Sure, the world might have labelled you and called you the guy that will never change, but here's the thing. Those labels aren't facts. They're stories that we tell ourselves to, we accept them from others. We believe men can change. We've seen it, we've lived it, and we want you to believe it too. Change isn't easy, but it's possible. And it starts with you deciding that you're not stuck, you're not finished, and you're not done growing. So look, thanks for being a part of the conversation in this episode. If it's hit home, please give us a 5-star review, share it with your mates, people that need to hear it in your life. Head over to www.averagejoes.net.au for any merch, meetup times, locations, and even some more real talk. Keep showing up, fellas. We believe in you, and we will see you next week. Fellas, thanks once again.
Yeah, awesome.
See you,
Thanks,
lads.
boys.